Have you ever looked at a loved one and felt a deep, quiet fear that one day you might have to rely on your children just to get by? That feeling of losing your independence and becoming a burden is perhaps the heaviest weight anyone can carry in their later years. It is a silent anxiety that follows you through the hallways of your own home, whispering questions about your future that you are not yet ready to answer. I know that many of you lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling and wondering if the work you have done for 40 years will actually be enough to protect you. The truth is that most people are told to aim for a certain number, but they are not told that the system is often designed to keep that number just out of reach. We are taught to save, to sacrifice, and to wait for a finish line that seems to keep moving further away into the distance. Right now, in early 2026, the data shows a very clear and somewhat frightening picture for those approaching retirement. The median household headed by someone around age 62 is entering this new chapter with roughly $200,000 in retirement savings. On the surface, $200,000 sounds like a significant amount of money that should provide a comfortable cushion for your golden years. But for many, this number is not a safety net. It is actually a dead end that leads straight into a psychological and financial trap. It is a number that provides just enough comfort to make you feel safe, while leaving you completely exposed to the harsh realities of the modern economy. Before we go any further into why this happens and how you can avoid it, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. By doing so, you help this message reach more people who are searching for the truth about their financial future, and it ensures you do not miss our upcoming deep dives into wealth protection. We are living in a time where the cost of simply existing is rising faster than most people can possibly save. If you have $200,000 saved today, you might feel like you have achieved something great, and in many ways, you have. You have shown discipline, you have shown grit, and you have survived through some of the most volatile economic periods in history. However, we must look at the reality of what that money can actually buy in the economy of 2026. Most people make the mistake of looking at their total net worth and feeling a false sense of security that blinds them to the risks ahead. They see the value of their home has gone up, and they count that paper wealth as part of their retirement freedom. But you cannot use your kitchen cabinets to pay for a grocery bill. And you cannot use the bricks of your house to pay for a medical emergency. This is what we call being house rich and cash poor, and it is the first step into the retirement dead end. When your wealth is locked inside a property, it is not working for you. It is simply sitting there while you still have to pay for taxes, insurance, and maintenance. A house is a place to live and a container for memories, but it is not a liquid asset that can put food on your table when the markets turn red. To truly understand why $200,000 is not enough, we have to look at the numbers that the banks and the media often ignore. According to recent estimates from major health organizations, a couple retiring today at age 65 will need an average of $330,000 just for medical expenses. Think about that number for a second, because it is staggering. That number does not include your housing, your food, your transportation, or your ability to enjoy your life. If your total savings are only $200,000, you are starting your retirement with a massive deficit before you even take your first vacation. You are essentially starting a race already miles behind the starting line, hoping that nothing goes wrong. And then there is the invisible thief called inflation, which never sleeps and never takes a holiday. Even at a moderate rate, the purchasing power of your dollars is shrinking every single month, eroding the value of your hard-earned labor. What $200,000 buys you today in early 2026 will feel like much less in 10 or 15 years. It is like trying to fill a bucket that has a small hole in the bottom, where the water is constantly leaking out while you are trying to survive the heat. Many people tell themselves that Social Security will be the backbone of their retirement and will cover every gap that arises. While Social Security is a vital lifeline that millions depend on, the average benefit is only around $2,000 per month. If we apply the standard 4% withdrawal rule to a $200,000 portfolio, you are only generating an extra $666 per month. When you add those together, you are looking at a total monthly income of less than $2,700 before taxes. For most people living in a developed area, that is not a retirement. That is a survival plan that requires constant sacrifice. It leaves no room for emergencies, no room for helping your grandchildren with their education, and certainly no room for the freedom you were promised. But the problem goes much deeper than just the math. It is about the psychology of how our brains handle this constant pressure. When you are constantly worried about every single dollar, your brain enters a state of high alert called decision fatigue. Every time you want to buy a coffee, visit a friend, or go out for a nice dinner, You have to weigh that choice against your long-term survival. This constant mental weight drains your energy, makes you irritable, and often leads to what we call the rebellion of the brain. Eventually, you get so tired of being restricted and told no that you make a large, impulsive purchase just to feel like you are still in control. You might buy a new car you do not need or take a trip you cannot afford simply because your soul is starving for a sense of agency. This is the exact reason why so many budgets fail. Not because people lack discipline, but because their neurology is fighting against a system that feels like a prison. We have to understand that as we get older, our locus of control, or our belief in our own power, is our most valuable asset. If you feel like life is just happening to you and you are just reacting to bills, you will eventually give up and let the current take you. But if you can reframe your financial plan to work with your brain instead of against it, everything changes in an instant. So how do we find a way out of this dead end, this ngokut that traps so many well-meaning people? The first step is to stop looking at your budget as a list of things you cannot do and start seeing it as a blueprint for your freedom. If you have $200,000, you're actually in a better position than 1/3 of the population. But you must act with precision and intent. One of the most powerful moves you can make is to rethink when you claim your Social Security benefits. If you are able to wait until age 70, your monthly payment increases by about 8% for every single year you delay. This guaranteed increase is something that almost no investment in the stock market can promise you with such absolute certainty. It is like giving yourself a massive raise for the rest of your life just by practicing a little more patience and strategy. Another critical strategy is to automate your decision-making, to protect your mental energy for the things that matter. The more you can set your bills and your investments to happen automatically, the less willpower you have to use every day to stay on track. This preserves your focus so you can focus on building a life that has meaning rather than just managing a digital spreadsheet. I also want to introduce the concept of a freedom fund, which is essential for your psychological well-being. Even if you are on a very tight budget, you should set aside 5 to 10% of your money for purely discretionary spending. This is money that you can spend with zero guilt and zero questions, whether it is for a hobby or a small gift for someone you love. This small pocket of freedom acts as a pressure release valve for your brain, preventing that urge to rebel and blow your entire long-term plan. It tells your brain that you are still the master of your life and that you are allowed to enjoy the fruits of your labor today. We must also talk about the power of the second million and why the journey actually gets faster the further you go. Most of you have heard that the first 100,000 or the first million is the hardest part of the climb, and that is absolutely true. In the beginning, your own contributions are doing all of the heavy lifting, and it feels like you are pushing a massive boulder uphill in the rain. But once you cross certain tipping points, your money starts to do more work for you than you do for it. When you have a larger base, even small market gains result in huge dollar amounts being added to your wealth while you sleep. This is the beauty of compounding, where the growth starts to look like a curve that bends sharply upward toward the sky. If you can stay consistent and keep your fire burning through the cold nights, the heat and light will eventually become effortless. But many people quit right before they reach that tipping point because they are exhausted by the struggle of the early years. I'm telling you today that if you are feeling that exhaustion and that doubt, please do not stop now. You may just need a different set of tools or a different perspective on how to manage the resources you already have. The goal of this channel is to provide you with those tools and to help you navigate the complexities of this modern financial world in 2026. We want to move from a place of reacting to our circumstances to a place where we are actively building the future we actually want to live in. If any of this has resonated with you, or if you have felt that specific frustration of a budget that just will not stick, please let me know in the comments. What is the biggest fear you have when you look at your retirement numbers for 2026? Is it the cost of healthcare, the rising price of housing, or the fear of outliving your money? I read every single comment because I want to understand the real psychological battles you are facing so we can address them together as a community. And if you found real value in this analysis, please share it with a friend or a family member who might be feeling the same way. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps us keep this project going and growing. Remember that retirement is not just about the numbers in your bank account. It is about the freedom to decide how you spend your time on this earth. It is about being able to say no to things that do not serve you and saying yes to the people and experiences that matter most to your heart. The traditional idea of a budget failed because it was designed by accountants for spreadsheets, not by people who understand the quirks of the human brain. When you learn to work with your own neurology, you stop fighting yourself and you start moving toward a genuine sense of empowerment. The shift from seeing your finances as a restriction to seeing them as a path to freedom is the exact moment everything changes for the better. The second million is waiting for those who have the discipline to master the first, and it will arrive much faster than you think. Keep your eyes on the horizon and stay focused on the life you are building, not just the money you are managing. You have worked hard for your life, and you deserve a future that reflects that effort and that dedication. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.